I'm Lucas Willman. All this crap in my marriage started simply as a loving wives story that you've heard or read at least 100 times before. Sure, even I've read it many times, but for me it was the first and hopefully last time it happened in my real life. It's not funny at all. I'm a regular guy, owner of an electrical consulting company, a lovely wife, and two little boys 6 and 8 years old. I met my wife, Linda, at the local tax office when I went there to get clarification on a new and very complicated form I had to fill out after selling some stock at a sizable profit. She did a good job. I admired her bright smile and invited her to dinner so she could take her time and explain things to me in more detail. She started laughing and said, "You're really not a very romantic guy if taxes are your main interest on a first date with a girl." "I have other interests. Just give me a chance to show them off and you'll see." She did, and not a word was said about taxes during our first date at the restaurant. Not during a nightcap at my apartment, not on subsequent occasions, not during breakfast in my kitchen. After the nightcap, she said, "Now it's time for you to show that interest you've been talking about." I did, and apparently did it very well, because she experienced 2 intense ecstasies before we fell asleep. I was embarrassed that I had gotten this sweet girl to sleep with me with such incredible ease. Apparently, she was thinking the same thing because after breakfast, she asked me, "Do you think I'm a cheap, easy slut after last night?" I looked her straight in the eye and replied, "Why would I? We were the two of us in this game, weren't we?" She obviously accepted my answer and said, "I really like you. Could we see each other again?" "I like you too. The whole weekend is all yours, just yours." We spent the whole weekend together, and when we parted on Sunday night, we didn't say "I like you." We said, "I love you." Of course, I had serious reservations about forming a serious relationship with a girl who gave in and willingly screwed me on our first night together. However, I fell in love with her and decided to stay with her as long as she was faithful to me. She was faithful, and our relationship progressed as usual: love, engagement, wedding, and 2 children. 10 years later, we were living in a nice house in a middle-income neighborhood. Linda was still working for the IRS, but the small company I owned when Linda and I met had been bought by a larger company, and that gave me more opportunities to move up the career ladder. In my humble opinion, we had a good life. But statistics in our country say that 10 years is the most dangerous period in a relationship, and why should Linda and I's relationship be an exception? Soon, Linda brought a snake into our paradise. Her name was Anna Johansson, a very ordinary name that told me nothing. But if I had seen her or recognized her former last name, things would have been very different. Anna worked in the accounting department of a large local company, and when they needed someone from the tax authorities to do an informational meeting on the new rules, Linda was sent there to do the job, and Anna was her contact person at the company. Their presentation was very successful, and they celebrated the occasion in the evening. Since they were the same age and were into fashion, they continued to see each other from time to go shopping together. Sometimes they even went to the movies, but they never visited night bars. When I suggested to Linda that we invite Anna and her whole family over for a barbecue, she said they had agreed not to extend their friendship to the family level. I was fine with that, although I briefly wondered why Anna, her spouse, and children didn't want to see our children and me for even a few hours. Linda told me that Anna had a spouse named Peter, but that didn't give me much information about him. After a vacation on a sunny Mediterranean island, Anna showed her some pictures, and Linda told me that Peter was a very handsome man, well-built, well-trained, and looked almost like a bodybuilder. Apparently, Linda was jealous of Anna in having such a handsome Anders, because she even told me that I just looked like a sack of potatoes compared to Anna's Peter. I replied to her that it's a well-known secret that bodybuilders shrink in size from steroid use, and I'm more of a sack of potatoes than a man with needles. When I asked Linda some questions about Anna's Superman, she couldn't tell me what kind of work he does for a living. Her next boast about Peter was that she had met him by chance in real life when Anna and her were shopping on Saturday, and he turned out to be very charming and even more handsome in real life. 2 weeks later, everything went downhill when Linda came back happy as a baby after shopping with Anna and told me that Peter had won money in the lottery. And since Anna had always wanted to sail on the big archipelago near Stockholm, Peter had rented a sailboat for a week, and Anna had invited Linda to share the week with them. I asked her, Have you accepted this strange invitation? Not yet, because I wanted to tell you about it before I told Anna I'd say yes. And I'm going to say no way because we don't know anything at all about these people. Linda got angry and shouted, "You have no right to say no. You don't own me because I'm a free adult, and you have no legal right to forbid me from spending a week with a friend? Do you think you have the legal right to ban me from this swim?" I got even more angry and told her, "I can't stop you, but I don't have to agree with what you're doing because I have a strong feeling that something is wrong here, and I'm going to find out what it is. You must be paranoid if you can't accept that I'm going to have a great vacation for free for a week." I looked her straight in the eye and said, "You should be smart enough to realize that there are no free vacations, and don't be surprised if your so-called free week turns out to be the most expensive vacation of your entire life." Our marriage had hit an all-time low, no sex and no extra talk. I had to find out more information about this mysterious Anna Johansson. With only 1 week to sail, I decided to act on Saturday when Linda and Anna went shopping. I told Linda that I had promised to help my friend Roland take care of some things at his house and went to his house about an hour before Linda went shopping. Linda's parents had promised to watch our kids, and she took them there on her way to go shopping. Roland is a man my height, owns a Kawasaki motorcycle, and his motorcycle overalls and helmet with tinted visor fit me perfectly. I waited for Linda 2 blocks from my parents' house and followed her to a large parking lot by the mall. Much to my delight, a few parking spaces away from Linda, a slender brunette stepped out of a blue VW Polo. They said hello and headed towards the mall together. It was my lucky day, and the information was much easier to find than expected. What if they had decided to meet at some coffee shop in the mall? That could have easily turned into a long, boring day for me. Now all I had to do was write down Anna's license plate number, drive back to Roland's Kawasaki, and head home to work. A message to the National Automobile Registry got me a reply that the car, BOV 785, was a VW Polo owned by one Monica Anna Elizabeth Johansson and her address. Still no record of Monica Anna Elizabeth, but she could now be easily found in the credit registries at my work, and I soon found a match, but it was much worse than expected. Anna had been single for 4 years after her divorce from Sebastian Hagman, a guy I often met at sporting events. In her marriage to Sebastian, she was known as Monica Hagman, which explained why I knew nothing about her when she now used her middle name Anna and maiden name Johansson. But now I knew a lot about dear Anna since she was Monica Hagman. She was involved in a sex scandal, which was the cause of her divorce and much gossip in our town. Her ex, Sebastian Hagman, is an accomplished stamp collector, and after a Rotary meeting, he invited 2 of his colleagues, the vicar and the police chief, also stamp collectors, to his home to look at rare stamps he had purchased at auction. Upon arriving at Hagman's house, the 3 friends heard strange noises coming from the bedroom and found Sebastian's pretty wife, Monica, naked and engaged in sexual intercourse with 2 men. In the ensuing commotion, one of the men knocked the vicar to the floor before Sebastian and the police chief could get the situation under control. Monica's lovers under the alias Anna were 2 brothers, Peter and Tommy Olson. Tommy, known for his fiery temper, received 2 months in jail for knocking down a vicar. A year later, Tommy became nationally famous when it came time for his next trip to become a guest of the taxpayer for 4 months as payment for a salacious sex story that sold many national evening tabloids. I never heard any more gossip about Peter. Tommy sold a used BMW to a distant relative, but since the poor buyer didn't have the money yet, Tommy gave the lender 30 days interest-free. So far, so good, but in the signed contract, they agreed that if the full amount for the car was not paid within 31 days, the interest should be paid by the buyer's wife, who lived with Tommy as his common-law wife and did all the household chores in his apartment until the full payment was made. The beautiful but naive wife agreed to this strange condition, as her husband had promised that this would never happen, and at worst, it could only be a matter of a few days as a maid. But Tommy had other plans when he didn't get his money. The first thing Tommy did in his new job was spank his terrified wife with a leather belt and let her know that she must obey all his orders and demands. She accepted total submission, and after becoming Tommy's wife, dared not object when she was demanded to have other sex for the first time in her life, even though she had always denied it to her own husband. When the poor husband failed to get the money a week after Tommy took his wife, he regretted the scheme and called Tommy to trade his wife for a BMW. When Tommy refused, he went to the police who, after listening to his wife, arrested Tommy for blackmail and rape. This incredible story made headlines in the national evening tabloids. Thanks to the contract, and the fact that the naive wife offered no objection or resistance when Tommy had sex with her, the PR-hungry, smart young lawyer got Tommy acquitted of most of the charges. Since this was Tommy's second trip, he got 4 months in a nearly open, white-collar prison for spanking his poor wife. I bought some newspaper articles about the case from an internet database. When Linda and I met at home, I asked her, "Did your friend Anna ever tell you that her name was Monica Hagman while she was married, and her marriage ended in a scandalous divorce after she was caught cheating during a threesome with 2 infamous brothers, Peter and Tommy Olson?" "No, why are you asking me that?" "Because that slut seems to be your best friend and is obviously more important to you than I am." "Are you out of your mind? What the hell are you talking about?" "I'm talking about your friend, Anna Johansson, nicknamed Monica Hagman, the ex-wife of Sebastian Hagman, an acquaintance of mine." Now she shouted at me, "You think Anna is the first woman to change her last name after a divorce? Why should I care?" "Because Anna's first name was Monica, and she preferred that name while she was married to my acquaintance Sebastian Hagman. Now I can see why she wanted to avoid me and said no thanks when we invited her and her boyfriend Peter Olson over for a barbecue. By the way, how well do you know him?" A now slightly surprised Linda asked me, "Do you really expect me to know Peter's background having only met him once for a few minutes?" "It's high time you met your sailor friends. The Olsen brothers, Peter and Tommy, are known for sharing their girlfriends. When your dear friend Monica Ann Elizabeth Hagman, a.k.a. Anna Johansson, was caught cheating on her husband, a vicar and policeman, she had a threesome with both Olsen brothers. Tommy, characterized by a violent temper, knocked the vicar down and received 2 months in prison. He then spent some more time in prison for using the wife of a car buyer as his sex slave. I bet Tommy will be with you that week of sailing and that both Olsen brothers will fuck you before the sun goes down on your first day at sea." Linda was shocked, but clearly not convinced, and replied, "You don't like Anna, and now you're seeing ghosts in bright daylight. She's my friend, and I'm going to spend a week with her. I've never heard of any Tommy, and I can promise you he won't be with us. That's for sure. I can't forbid you to go there, but don't forget that I've warned you of the consequences, and I'm putting a very simple choice before you. Stay home as my wife or leave to become a whore for the Olsen brothers. I see no other options in this sad affair." She left the room without further comment. Friday was a busy day for me. I went to the bank to split our joint accounts and then to the court to get divorce papers and copies of Tommy Olsen's sentences. An attorney, if needed, would be selected later. I was then able to find the company that leased the sailboat to Peter Olsen. The clerk told me that for safety and insurance purposes, they kept a record of all 4 people on the boat rented by Tommy and Peter Olsen. The other 2 were Anna Johansson and Linda Willman. It turned out to be as bad as I had feared. I recorded my call and put it on a disc. I called Linda a half hour before her lunch with the question, "I need to know if I have a wife or not. Have you made your final choices for next week yet? Please tell me, which do you like better, your family or the Olsen pervert brothers?" "I'm going sailing on a yacht with my friend Anna and her boyfriend Peter. Nothing else. Why do you have these stupid ghosts in your head, and why are you calling me about it now?" "Because your choice is very important to our future, and I need to know your final decision on this matter now at this very moment. Are you really sure you understand all the implications? Why don't you try to understand that this isn't the first time in history that a wife has spent a week's vacation with a girlfriend? Nothing's going to happen, and please don't react to it without reason." I canceled Linda's invitation to my company's holiday party, filled out a divorce petition, and filed it with the court. In the evening, when she returned home after work, Linda was clearly remorseful about being gone for a week because she came in with 2 bottles of good quality wine and supplies for my favorite meal. She said, I'm sorry for all the fighting I've caused you lately. Let's stay friends and work out our misunderstandings over a nice dinner. When? Tonight. Thank you for the kind invitation, but I regret to say that I already have a very important dinner reservation tonight. A surprised expression appeared on her face, and she asked, "What dinner? You didn't tell me anything about any dinner." My team did a very good job when we managed to win a major order for the company, and we are having this dinner to celebrate this important event. I think I'll be home late. Why didn't you tell me anything about this dinner when you called today? Aren't spouses invited? What about me? Am I invited? Spouses are invited, but not you, because I no longer consider you my spouse. When I called you today and asked you if I still had a wife or not, you said you preferred those notorious Olsen brothers more than your family and me. So today I went to the court to get a divorce form. Linda was ash gray and stared at me as I handed her the divorce papers, copies of Tommy Olsen's verdicts, and held out the CD of my call to the sailboat company. Please listen to my call to the sailboat company today. They told me that there are 4 people booked on the boat. I put the disc in the player, and Linda cried when she heard that she had no doubt that Tommy Olsen would be participating in Sailing Week. I said to her, "Do you really think any sane man would want to touch his wife after she spent a week as a whore for those damn perverted Olsen brothers? Please ask your dear friend, Monica, aka Anna, what they were doing with her the moment her husband and his friends surprised them." You really surprised me, Linda. I never imagined that you could be induced to be such a disgusting, cheap whore by such simple persuasion as Monica, nicknamed Anna, applied to you. Linda screamed hysterically, and even our children began to cry when they heard her. I called her parents and told them the truth that we had a serious problem and Linda was in total distress. They promised to come over and watch Linda and the kids while I was gone. After my parents calmed Linda down, she started sobbing that she didn't know anything about Tommy, and that when she asked Anna about further parties, she promised her that it would just be the 3 of them as they had planned. Just a lazy, nice week at the seaside. Before I left for the party, I told Linda's parents that she and I would talk in the morning before she left for the sea. I got home around 3 o'clock in the morning and, to my surprise, found Linda sitting at the kitchen table waiting for me because she wanted to have a serious talk with me. Her parents were asleep in our spare room and had to take care of our children in the morning. I told her, "I have never refused you to talk to me. Please go ahead." She began, "You should know that I love you and our children more than anything else in the world, just you and our children. I can promise you that I have never deceived you, nor do I intend to. I want to admit that I was a pure idiot when I believed everything this Anna told me, because I thought she was a very good friend. I am ashamed of what I did to you when I was naive enough to believe everything she told me." I asked her, "Did you call her tonight?" "Yes, I did. I called and canceled the week of the swim and told her it was because I knew for a fact that Peter's brother Tommy, the infamous rapist, was booked on this swim, and that I knew what he had done to her and the vicar. I even told her that I knew the whole story of how Tommy used the poor wife of a BMW buyer as his sex slave. I cursed Anna because my husband filed for divorce when he found out Tommy had booked the yacht." What did she say? She was very surprised and angry. I'm convinced she was being honest with me when she swore she knew nothing of Tommy's intentions to join us on the voyage and promised to have a serious talk with Peter. An hour later, a sobbing Anna called me back to tell me that Peter had confessed that Tommy had forced him to arrange the entire week of sailing as payment for an old debt. Anna missed the swim, and Peter was thrown out of her apartment. Linda and I then went on to have a serious conversation about our relationship, and at about 7 o'clock in the morning, we agreed to drop all my plans for divorce and continue our marriage as usual, with no new terms, simply because I knew we didn't need or want any new rules, because I was sure Linda would do everything she could to convince me that I was right on this issue. Epilogue. Monday night our doorbell rang, and when I opened it I found Monica, nicknamed Anna, outside to my great surprise. I asked her to come in and led her to the couch in our living room. Even Linda was surprised but agreed to make coffee. When Linda joined us, Anna started sobbing and told us her whole story. Her marriage to Sebastian was far from happy because his stamp collection and passion for sports took too much of their money. When she complained, he threatened to hit her. After her husband hit her a second time, she met Peter, fell in love, and had an affair with him while she waited for an apartment. It was Peter who persuaded her to take part in the first and last threesome of her life with his brother Tommy. The shameful experience ended in chaos when her husband and his friends caught them having sex. Anna cried for a while before continuing with the story that both Peter and she had rejected all further offers from Tommy to rejoin them for a threesome. She revealed that Peter had never mentioned Tommy's plans to participate in the swim, and when she asked him, he said, "There was no way Tommy was going to participate." If she had had the slightest inkling of Tommy's plans, she would have canceled her trip immediately and told Linda not to go. After much yelling, Anna got Peter to admit that the week of sailing had been planned and paid for by Tommy, who wanted Anna and some other hottie to join them as playmates during the swim. Peter had to find this other woman, and he used Anna to convince Linda to join them. Peter's dirty trick destroyed Anna's love for him, and he disappeared from her life and her apartment. A crying Anna begged for forgiveness and said that she thought Linda was a very good friend and regretted that she had been so naive and stupid not to recognize the dirty game Tommy, who had been helped by her favorite boyfriend Peter, had been up to for Linda and for her. Linda and I did everything we agreed to do during our serious late-night talk about our future, and we are now living in a solid marriage. Anna couldn't forgive Peter for playing dirty with Tommy behind her back and left him. Both Linda and I are convinced that Anna told us the whole truth about her involvement in the voyage. Now she and her child are our friends on a family level, and she and Linda go shopping together as usual.